I've said it once and I'll say it again. Thank goodness Kane is gone so we can get our real number 3 into the game. Henry Nicholls is my favourite player, your favourite player, and indeed the nation's favourite player. I'm also unsure whether betting in Sunnies against Jofra Archer is an alpha move or a worrying sign of GP's mental state. Truth be told, it was in with the old and out with the new for the Poms, and we benefited to the tune of a win of 253 runs. We also benefited to a slew of excuses by the Poms immediately following the loss, which is always lovely. Plenty to cover in almost no time at all, as the circus heads north to the Midlands, to Nottingham, to the Stuart Broad end, and to what we are being told as a return to the turbulence of a Benjamin Stokes-led England. It's episode 4 of Nick and Nurdle, and we'll cover the aftermath of the second test match at the Oval, a preview of the third test match at Trent Bridge, and anything else that might cross our ADHD-infected minds. First question for you, Tails. Do you rate batting in Sunnies?
I think there's a place for it. Absolutely.
Clear there is at the Oval.
Yep. I think I had an opportunity to do it once and I missed that opportunity and it worked against me. But yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity to do that. Did Jofra get Glenn Phillips out?
Not in the first innings, I don't believe, unless I'm mistaken. We're supposed to be a cricket podcast, and here I am not prepared. But
yeah,
I don't think he got
I'm a little
out.
bit the same. I don't think he did either. And It kind of takes me back to when Jofra knocked Steve Smith in the head in the Ashes series, and there was all this made of Jofra bowling to Steve Smith, and he just replied, he didn't get me out though, or something to that effect.
Yep.
I think in that situation, it's definitely an alpha move. When it's GP, who during lockdown was churning out 800 push-ups a day, 100% an alpha move. The thumbs up from a lying down position just shows complete comfortability in what most people would find quite an uncomfortable situation.
Absolutely right. And I think it sums GP up in a nutshell. I mean, we'll get into it, but what you saw there was basically the equivalent of someone arguing with a golden retriever. You're not going to win that battle. It's just going to go one way, and it's going to become a meme. And so it has. But it was definitely an alpha move in my book too.
On a well, this is all serious, isn't it? On a slightly more serious note, wrapped for Henry Nicholls. Obviously, I'm still struggling to comprehend the loss of Kane. But yeah, for a guy who's, like we talked about last week, gone away, scored the runs, even just the story about him, I know he cops a little bit of flack at times, but as I understand it, I don't think he played age group cricket for Canterbury. And by 22, 23, he was playing for the first class side just from banging down the door with club runs, which, like in this day and age where everyone's sort of a pathway player or, identified as an under 17 or under 19, the fact a guy's just gone away and just churned and earned his opportunity the old-fashioned way, you got to respect it. Admittedly, he has had his ups and downs. I was looking at his numbers, and I think it worked out in his last 12 or 13 tests, he scored 400s, but he hasn't scored any 50s.
So a decent conversion rate is what we're hearing.
Yeah. So it might have been like 15 tests or something, but he scored 100 against South Africa at home in 2022, I think. And then he had a real lean run, scored a double 100 against Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was Sri Lanka. And then
Wellington, yep.
Came back into the side, was sort of in and out, scored that 150 against Zimbabwe, and then this most recent 100.
Yep.
You sprinkle a couple of 50s in there, like it's pretty good. He's been averaging 40 over that period. Obviously, the most recent couple of hundreds have bumped those numbers up a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot to like those back foot punches that were just racing away for 4, a couple of defensive pushes. He does seem to score at quite a good clip as well, which I like. You don't necessarily think that about him, but he's often scoring his runs at a strike rate of, in the 60s or 70s. I mean, 4 left-handers at the top. If it's working for you, it's working. Yeah, I mean, I just think there's a lot to like. I think there's a lot to like. Just a few more, not to run away with this, and feel free to kick me off my soapbox when you need to.
I will do.
On the actual record of Henry Nicholls, he is less than 500 runs away from becoming the 10th highest Test run scorer of all time for New Zealand. He's 7th equal in terms of hundreds scored, currently equal with Nathan Astle and one behind McCullum and John Wright. And I think his average is something like 14th of all time with a 20 innings qualifier. Not to just be glazing Henry Nicholls, but like he is someone who cops a fair bit of flack, and I think we've got to be grateful for players like this.
Well, I think we're in a post-Kane world now. In the immediate aftermath of that, you want an experienced number 3 who's going to score your runs. We've now got that, right? So Henry Nicholls, 59 matches, 92 innings, 3,306 runs, highest score of 200 red, averaging a tick under 40 with 11 hundreds. I mean, granted, the last innings, or second last, was against Zimbabwe, where I think most of our top order got bulk runs.
A bit of a fill your boots.
Bit of a road.
Situation. Yeah.
And obviously conditions and opposition notwithstanding. But he's delivered in his first opportunity of asking. He's bashed the door down, and there was probably a bit of chat around, was it Will Young, is it going to be Henry Nicholls? They stuck with the guy that's got the runs, and he's delivered. And I think you mentioned that kind of back foot punch. That's kind of his trademark. If that's coming off nicely, then I think it's a good sign. It was kind of like when Stephen Fleming would kind of clip through mid-wicket, between mid-wicket and mid-on, he's probably going to get some runs today. And it's the same with Henry Nicholls. And it's great. I agree. It's a guy that's definitely had his doubters the last couple of years. He went from that kind of solid number 5 in that golden generation, kind of suddenly had a bit of a rough time in 2022 at that England Bazball series. He might have missed the first game because of COVID. They're going to give Daryl Mitchell a chance, which he kind of hasn't let go of at number 5. And so to kind of rework his game and to be given opportunity in the trying circumstances without Kane Williamson, hats off to him, honestly.
Yeah. No, I think particularly going into this next little period of bulk test cricket for the Black Caps boys, not a bad time to score him, right?
Never a bad time. Runs is the currency, as they say, and he's definitely fulfilled there. So definitely pretty happy for Nicholls, and hopefully he gets a bit of a run. He is 34, and there's certainly a podcast in the near future about the future of the side. But for right now, we'll take it and we'll move on. Now, going into the second test match and the analysis therein, interesting stat. I'm sure it's done the rounds for those who are autistic like you and I, but Root was the leading run scorer and wicket taker for England in this test match. It is just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. The last time that happened, I think, was Martin Crowe in 1994 for New Zealand.
Well, that's fitting.
Well, exactly right. So really ticking off there and going full circle. But England, I mean, obviously their week was disrupted, but I mean, you're the architects of your own chaos there. Let's truth be known. So 5 players in the conversation, 3 on debut, 2 with 1 game, and one of those players hadn't played since 2022. So England was certainly gettable, and they didn't exactly help themselves, so they had a bit of a shocker. Again, it's a lot's been said about their day 2 morning tactics, which obviously has been kind of picked to death, but it wasn't the greatest. But before we go into the kind of X's and O's, it's worth noting in the context, in the first test match, 617 runs across 4 innings in 165 overs. So with that said, New Zealand being sent in by the Poms, 391 all out of 96, GP 100 from number 7, and a few stats on that. So first test ton, second New Zealander to score a test match ton at the Oval behind John Wright 1986, and then the third Kiwi to score a ton in all 3 men's formats. Important to note, Blundell 51, Mitchell 44, the middle order kind of going to work, and then Jamo 41 certainly contributed to a lot of English pain, considering their tactics were pretty shocking. Wickets shared amongst the English bowlers, but Bethel got 3, which is kind of weird. Decent effort, I think, from England's bowling in general, considering the lack of experience. But then the tactics on the morning of day 2, basically going short in a period where going full at the stumps would have been preferable. Same thing kind of happened in game 1 as well. I know we didn't score a lot of runs in game 1, but just a very interesting way and to go about it. And Jofra Archer didn't get the ball at all, I don't think, for the first hour, claiming, I mean, this has come out afterwards, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but that he was too tired. Basically, he was being rested from the day before, Yeah, not the nicest thing to hear, considering he bowled, I'm not sure how many overs he bowled, but it might have been like an 8-over spell, I think, to GP at the end, where we got all those nice memeable pictures of GP batting his sunnies and ending up on his backside, but still going on to score a ton. But yeah, good effort, I think, in the first innings, considering where we were. Got to ourselves a 391 all out. England in response, 291 all out of 84. Henry 5, including both Root and Brooke. We will get into this, but Blundell's keeping really shone in that second innings. Second innings of the game. England's first innings, man had a hand in a fair few dismissals as well.
That
Matt
catch
Fisher
off.
got him out of. Yeah,
I was going to say catch off Jofra was like,
yeah,
holy heck.
yeah, handy.
Yeah.
And Blundell's keeping at times has been called into question. I think in that India tour of 2024, I know that we rolled them for a 40-odd in that first game, but there was a couple of catches that went straight in and straight out, which combined with some questionable batting results have certainly contributed to, I'm going to say, my own doubts whether he's the right person for the job. I think he proved everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean me, wrong. But yeah, good to see him getting some plaudits as well. Anyway, back to the innings. Fisher dug him out of the hole with a pretty solid 50.
Looked good too.
Yeah, annoyingly good. And then Emilio Gay looking good as a bit of a copy and paste from Alistair Cook, if you don't mind me saying so. New Zealand's second innings, 362 all out of 87 runs from the top stage middle order. We've noted Henry Nicholls turning up. Rachin 76, Mitchell 68. So we noted that Mitchell was one of those players who might need some runs in this test match, and he got them. Nathan Smith also contributed with 38, and Jofra and Fisher have 3 each. And rounded off, England 209 all out, 58 overs, Root 77. Not really mentioned that much, but bringing up 14,000 runs, which is handy, is
Second
what
player
they
to do it.
say. Yep, they say at Clubland. He can hold a stick. Henry 6, Jamo 3, Henry 11 for, first 10 for ever, and the best figures for a New Zealander versus England in a test match. A lot to go through there, but overall handy, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, lot to dissect. Like I said, I've got a fair bit of ammunition for this week's pod, so I think I'm looking forward to cracking into it. Obviously, Matt Henry, like what a test match, and
what a dude, how good.
It also makes you ask the question if no back spasm in test 1, does that have an impact on the game? Quite possibly.
I'd say certainly, definitely.
Yeah. Does it make up the 100 and whatever run loss? Maybe not, but it definitely takes it closer, right? Interesting. I was sort of digging through the stats a little bit because I remember seeing it. I think he actually sent it through later. How at the start of his career is averaging like 42 or something with the ball, and he's sort of in for 1 test or in for 2 and filling spots, and he really struggled to get some momentum. I couldn't dig out that stat, but I went through and back and looked at some of his series averages, and on the old Crick Info Stats Guru, shout out, that I think it was the England series in 2023. Since that series, he has not averaged more than 30 with the ball. Every series, I think that he was like 27 in that, and everything else has been below it. In that same period, he's taken 97 wickets at 17, and the first innings at Lord was the only innings he's gone wicketless.
And that was due to a bit of a sore back.
Overs with a back spasm.
Yeah.
Obviously, like lots of good performances. If we can just take it back a step, I don't know if you've seen, but there's been some interesting revelations around the Stokes Atkinson thing. So there were people coming out from the rugby community basically saying, like, I hope Stokes doesn't lose the captaincy over this. The guy who did it's got a bit of a reputation. It sounds like they obviously weren't the instigators, that sort of thing. Stokes apparently wasn't even in the room when it happened, which I don't know. And Gus Atkinson wasn't aware there was a curfew, which is kind of, fair play. I know a couple of cricketers like that, but bit oblivious to some of those things. Yeah, and so it does sound like, again, like you said last week, that when there's smoke, there's fire. But probably the other thing that this test showed is I might need to retract some of my comments about the captaincy from last week. I don't think the breakaway. I don't think that's sort of refreshed route. I think it would be unfair and cruel to the man to lump the captaincy on him again at this stage. But I also don't feel like Harry Brooks quite ready to take over. So they are in a bit of a conundrum where I think they need that man, Benjamin Stokes, to lead them out. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and we'll circle back to Machu Henry shortly.
Yep.
But I think at this point in time, it's probably makes more sense to double down on the Bazball stuff and bring Ben Stokes back in. I think the whole curfew thing, like that was the biggest issue. Like there was no like alarm bells ringing that Stokes and Atkinson have took on the whole bar and decided to get into a big fight. I think it was like definitely they were the victims here. The
They
issue
stayed
was the
out an
curfew.
hour late after
Yeah,
a dispatch
exactly.
win.
Exactly. And that was that was
daylight
the
savings.
issue.
Surely there's daylight savings.
Daylight savings, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We didn't know what time of year it was. But yeah, the curfew was the issue, and I find it obviously hilarious that one of the players in this brand new setup, like the reset, can't even recall what the rules were. So look, it's happened now. I'm glad that both players like aren't going to be punished further. I think it's just funny is all it is, and I think that Stokes' performance at Durham, or Durham I should say, has kind of solidified the fact that he won't be retiring. He scored 95, coming in a tricky position, and he bowled a truckload of overs, like 25 overs in the first innings. I think Atkinson was pretty good for Surrey as well.
4 in the first innings?
Yeah,
61?
exactly. Yeah, so I'm glad that it's all kind of blown over now. Like, yes, it's makes for good content, but I also want to see New Zealand play against a good England lineup and not run up against 5 blokes who have 2 games combined. So yeah, it's good to see hopefully them back. I think Ben Stokes will be just given the armband and whatnot. I think the whole setup still is just this bizarre axis of Baz who just says whatever he wants and just seems to be in La La Land. Rob Key, who just seems to be head in the sand, drinking Kool-Aid. Last thing we heard from him was this side isn't a national embarrassment. When was the last time you saw any cricket team with that headline? And that's an open question to everyone listening. When was the last time you read any headline about like that about a cricket team, even at club level? Anyway, and then you've got Stokes, who is probably, honestly, the most innocent out of all this. So I'm glad he's back, and I'm looking forward to hopefully at least a couple more years of him. You know, we don't want to see a guy like that be removed from the game. Anyway, so back to Machu. Since 2022, I'm reading this from a screenshot from Cricinfo, so it's on the internet, so it must be true. Since 2022, only Jasper Bumrah has a better bowling average in Test than Matt Henry. Now, you think about Jasper Bumrah, obviously the guy's a cheat code and a bit of a freak, and you think about Matt Henry, by comparison, the two couldn't be further away from each other. Matt Henry is a metronome in the mold of a Glenn McGrath, like really good, but he isn't like a genetic freak or anything like that. You know what I mean? So Bumrah has that kind of weird action and weird stuttery run up and catches you kind of on the bounce and delivers the ball a couple of inches further ahead than most bowlers and is just generally amazing. Matt Henry, most international cricketers probably wouldn't even rate Matt Henry in the top 10 of
I
Test match bowlers.
disagree. I
Well, I
disagree.
hope so.
I reckon
I hope so.
the hype around him at the moment is just like
Well, that's good.
the way
That's
they.
good. But what
yeah,
I'm saying is, like,
yeah.
the average suggests that he is up there, and he does deserve those plaudits. But I mean, you've only got to look at the last 2020 World Cup. I know we're talking about Test matches here, but everyone was saying like, oh, if Bumrah's in your side, you beat your batting with 16 overs rather than 20. And you know, it's that kind of chat that
Probably
you
not
don't see
that,
Matt Henry in.
Yeah.
And I know obviously Jasper had a bit of a quiet T20 like IPL stint, but yeah, what I'm trying to get at is he is just as good, if not
Quiet achiever.
as. Yeah, exactly. He's taken I think at the start of his career, I think he came in 2014, had a decent run against England in that series, and in 2015 as well. Might have been 2015 actually. And then after that, I think he had a couple of tough Test series. I think it might have been Aussies away, and that was the same series. I think that Jimmy Neesham noted that like that made him question whether he wanted to play at all. Like, was that tough out there for the bowlers? This was like, you know, Khawaja 200, Warner 200.
Was that the series where like everyone got sick going into the third Test match?
No, that was 2019.
Oh, yeah.
The 2015 series when you had Kane back-to-back hundreds at Brisbane and Perth, Ross Taylor 290. Yeah. So he had that series. Most bowlers got destroyed in that series. I think it was like Mitchell Johnson's last series, so he had enough at that point as well. Then after that, I think New Zealand toured India, and we didn't do very well. And then I think at that point, 2017 onwards, Neil Wagner came in and became like the third cog in that machine behind Bolt Southey. And then a couple of years after that, you had Jamison come in. So he had that tough start where he couldn't really get a foothold and got hit around a bit by the Aussies and the Indians away. And then he's now coming back in as like our specialist leader of the attack. And it's great to see him getting those 10 fizz now. It's his first 10 fizz and really important fivers recently at home and in India. But no, the point is that he is a really special bowler. He's not in that conversation with a Bumrah or a Warne or a Murali. But if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll be right up there for sure.
It's interesting as well. Like he's only, the fact he took his 150th Test wicket, like with how long he's been around and how good he's been in the last few years, I was sort of like, surely he's like closer to 200. It just goes to show how actually like it disrupted that initial kind of emergence into the team was. I have a feeling that Wagner might have been on the scene when he debuted, because I vaguely remember him getting the nod at, it might have been Lords he made his debut. Was that in that UK series?
2015, I think. Yeah, and I think he's got like 4 to start in the first innings.
Yeah, I remember being a bit
crack.
surprised at the time that you felt like you had a sort of semi-established 3 quicks, and there was that bit of a tussle. But yeah, he's making that role his own, and he's definitely someone who's, when we were that worried about who was going to replace Southey, Bolt, Wagner, that you've got Matt Henry waiting in the wings, ready to take the opportunity. Has just been doing the business, just super professional. Like I said, quiet achiever. I do think he's a guy that opposition teams are aware of and they'll spend a bit of time thinking about. But I think like most of our cricketers are a little bit like that. There's not a lot of ego. There's not a lot of rah-rah, to use the technical term.
Mm-hmm.
Kane's retirement's a perfect example. That he could have said, "Oh, I'm going to retire in 2 years' time at the Basin Reserve," and
do a warm-up,
roll out the red carpet, and said it. Roll out the red carpet, and we can kind of have a long lead in. But he's gone, no, the desire's gone. Which actually, I was listening to Ed Cowan talk about it on the ABC podcast, and he said, when that does go, it can actually go quite quickly. Which I think everyone's probably had that feeling when it's not quite working at the moment, and cricket's a game when you're feeling like that. It's a tough place to be, and sort of done right by the team. Stepped out of the way, allowed Henry
100%.
Nicholls to come in and change the game.
Exactly, and shout out Ed Cowan as well. Get him on the pod at some point.
That would be a dream. That would be well, he would be in my Mount Rushmore of podcast guests, I reckon.
Well, Ed, if you're listening, jump on, mate. You got my details. Give me a call. Now, but I think in all seriousness, like it is great that Matt is getting that recognition now. And don't forget, he's had I know you haven't forgotten, nor have I, but it's more for the general audience. His whiteboard career is incredible as well. Think back to that 2019 One Day World Cup. He was just dominating. And there's a big reason why we got through that semi-final against India was the start. Removing the top 3 out of 4, and I think Bolt might have got Virat in that game. And yeah, when I keep saying we as if we're playing in the team. I'm going to continue to do that.
We were spiritually there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Spiritually there, exactly. When we knocked over India for 46 at the Chinnaswamy 2024, I forget who was on comms, but they noted, "Don't India know Matt Henry well?" And it was a nice little nod to how much he has done against India in particular, a team, especially at home, that, probably want to see the back of him pretty quick. But no, fantastic. And 3 guys on the Oval honours board a couple of days, I should say, after a couple of guys go on the Lord's honours board, obviously in a winning scenario this time. So I think the revenge tour was off to a very, very good start. Just on England, if we can just bash that dead horse for a bit longer. England have now lost 6 of the last 8 Test matches. They've lost the last 3 at the Oval, and they've been docked, I think, 12 points on the World Test Match Championship ladder, whatever that means. But 12 points seems like a lot. So they must have been going in with a warning or something about slow over rate. I don't know about that, but they've been docked points, which is funny because no one knows how it works. But the fact that they're being further punished makes me happy.
I always find it interesting, the slow over rate thing, when the test finishes within the time.
Yeah, I mean, even there has been players, and I think one of them has been Stokes, who has noted they don't know really how the system works, which is quite funny, again.
Surely it's not that complicated, that you've got a certain number of overs you're supposed to bowl in a day.
Well, yeah.
you don't bowl that many in your time. You kind of
Well, especially if you bowl, 4 seamers, and yes, I know Bethel got a few overs, but especially bowl a pile of poop and get knocked around into the stands for most of the day. But yep, we'll take that. It's still good. And then Baz's comments at the end of the game were a bit odd. He was noting that he thought the tactics were good when clearly they were not good. Everyone has said that. And he's also noted that he wanted the environment to feel good and safe and stable for the debutants, which is just completely counter to what they've done in the last 4 years. The whole ethos of Bazball is to discombobulate the opposition by playing in an unnatural manner and running down the wicket, running towards the danger, as it were. And it's totally not a stable environment. Of course, it's not. They've got a culture of, I mean, they previously did. I'm not sure if they've tied it up at the moment. Clearly, they haven't. But wearing bucket hats, and no, we don't need to train. We do range hitting, and McCullum's practicing hitting sixes for fun, and they have a beer, and they take it easy. They play golf. We're better than you. You are lucky to see us, and we play golf. Like, what's not to like? You bring 3 guys into that environment, following an incident where the captain breaks a curfew, and you're saying, "Oh, it's a calm environment." I just think it's the most tone deaf thing I've ever heard. So it's bizarre to me that he is talking this way. Maybe he's just drinking the Kool-Aid, because when he was captain of New Zealand, that wasn't the case. There wasn't a sense of, you're lucky to see us. The way they were playing was awesome, and they had respect for the opposition and respect for themselves and respect for the fans. And they've gone entirely the other way with this Bazball stuff. I think that's what makes it really frustrating from a New Zealand point of view, is that we know McCullum isn't inherently like that, or at least we haven't seen him like that previously. So yeah, it was just bizarre that he said it after the game. Maybe it was a bit too early. He hadn't quite thought about what he was going to say, but yeah, it just made no sense to me.
yeah. Does feel like the Bazball thing is morphed from what it was initially set out as. Like him talking after, it was either the first test that he was in charge of, the first test series. It was along the lines of creating an environment where players could go out and play the way they felt was right without fear of repercussion from the coaches, effectively, that not feeling like you have to play a certain way because this is test cricket and whatnot. And it seems like perhaps with England's one-day prowess, which has sort of disappeared a little bit as well, that they've sort of lent into that, and let's just play it like a one-dayer and let's just try and tee off. I don't know if that's what it was set out to be. And yeah, is it almost like my mind goes to the Dark Knight, sort of Harvey Dent, or was it Jim Gordon? You either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain.
Exactly.
But, yeah, it's a shame, because I think there's obviously some merit to some of the stuff, but I just think it's morphed away from what it was originally set out as. That's my take on it. I could be completely wrong. I'm not in their changing sheds. I'm not part of the setup, as you well know. But yeah, that would be my feeling about the old Bazball.
Well, that's the difference between you and I. Like, I'm often in there changing sheds, and often get tasked to leave, either by force or just through the police. But I think that's what, just from a New Zealand perspective, and making it back about us. Like, we knew, thinking back to what New Zealand was as a cricketing team in, say, 2012, I'd say battling, it would be the word that pretty best summarises it. Just, we were okay, but we battled against most opposition teams. And you fast forward to where they were in 2021, and just really being at the forefront, playing some really good cricket. Yes, that's coincided with some generational talent, but McCullum was a big part of that, and it's disappointing to see the way it's going. And it could have been, it could have been a similar situation to what it was with New Zealand, but they've just taken it a different way, and it is quite frustrating. But anyway, we can't solve that problem right here, right now, so we'll move on. So, third test, Trent Bridge, Nottingham, Stokes and co likely going to be back.
I think that's confirmed that they will be. Yep.
Yeah, I think the squad was announced yesterday, our time. Yeah, so Smith comes straight back in, no questions asked. Stokes and Atkinson like the same. I'm not sure if Robinson is fit.
I think he is.
He's in the squad, so he must be there. So in terms of the 11 for England, you'd imagine it would go Duckett, Gay, Bethel, Root, Brooke, Jamie Smith, Stokes, captain, Atkinson, Robinson, Archer, Tongue. I think that would be their 11. I've heard that there is some hot weather up in the Midlands, and it may lead to a wicket that does take some spin, but I think they'd probably be fine with Bethel, given how much he bowled in the second Test match, and he did take a few bowls. To be fair, one with the full
How
bunger.
yucky were they though?
Yeah, I'm
Not
not saying they were
like
good, but
those first innings wickets. There was the one where Roots reeled it in, where Blundell's like tried to slap it over mid wicket, and he got a fair piece of it. Like it was a pretty good catch. Like bobbled it up and then took it.
yeah,
There was the
Nathan
full
Smith.
toss.
Yeah,
And then the other
Smith.
one, the one in the second innings was okay. And like I mean, I'm just looking at his wicket balls. You don't know what the necessarily build up is around it when you're sort of relying on the highlights for some of the stuff.
Are you not watching every ball in the middle of the night, Taylor?
I'm not able to watch every single ball,
It's
unfortunately.
a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame.
I'm watching as much as I can. Yeah, just looking at them, you're going, another day, like those balls get slapped out of the park and we make 550 and just really kind of blow them out of the water. I think like he's obviously got some potential as a spinner, and like they'll probably run with it. And Roots obviously he was their number one spinner for a while.
Well, leading wicket taker for them in the last Test match. So
yeah, I do feel like this is not what this was supposed to be about.
it sums up our whole cricketing career.
Yeah, tangent. The pinball machine of kind of cricketing thoughts.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a bit of a fuddy-duddy. I think if Jacob Bethel is like serious about his cricket, serious about his Test cricket, and I completely understand that the IPL is such a learning opportunity. I think him spending some time playing some first-class cricket like wouldn't hurt him at all. That you saw the player that, like the way he batted in that last Test in the Ashes, this guy's like, he's obviously a generational talent. Like the guy is so good. But as much as they say that it's a part of being a modern player that you can change between formats, I remember some of the success that we had early was around guys prioritising red ball cricket. Kane Williamson going and playing for Gloucestershire instead of going to the IPL. That the start of that 2014 period, I remember Ross Taylor, McCullum, Bolt and Southey came home early from a white ball tour to prep for red ball cricket, and they had unbelievable summers. And I don't think it's something you need to do lots, but having a summer where he just, wherever he can, he plays some first-class games, bats 3 for Warwickshire, tries and racks up some hundreds. I think it would help his game, and probably bowling overs as well, like longer spells opposed to just firing in 2 overs in the power play or through the middle trying to sneak through. And again, I don't know if that's top of his list. I know his dad made comments after he scored the 100 that he's a proper player, he's a red ball player. This is what he actually is, this is what he's made for. Yeah. Am I turning into an old man?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm already there, so I wouldn't know. But I agree. I mean, that's been some of the chat as well. I did listen to Athers and Butcher talk after the Test match, and they noted that Bethel's runs weren't quite there the last couple of games. And I agree that obviously the quality is obviously there, and he's going to be this young blonde thing for England for a very long time. But I agree, prioritising the red ball stuff. Yeah,
like when
definitely.
you put the samples, like it looks good, but just needs to be able to do it for longer.
Yeah, trapping shapes, it's all there, but it's challenging to not go and play that.
Of course it is.
T20, and obviously we know why. Got to earn the money, and make hay while the sun shines and whatnot. Apparently, he was getting regular chats with Virat, which is probably not a bad second, but I agree, it's time out in the middle, and especially the bowling. Like, he's not going to be bowling for RCB. He might get the odd over, but you're not bowling sustained spells against quality opposition and working out batsmen. He might come on when there's a left-hander. Great. He's a right-arm off spinner. Cool. But that's not going to win your games. As you say, a couple of yuck dismissals in there. But, yeah. And that's going to be the challenge for a lot of modern cricketers. Well, I know we're not breaking this news, but actually having the dedication and the prioritisation of the red ball stuff is ultimately going to grow the game or grow the quality of the game at the red ball level. And whether you want to do that or not comes down to the individual player. We're going to see a lot of players go completely the other direction. and just pick and choose when you represent New Zealand, such as like a Finella. Well, I suppose not just New Zealand, for anyone you play for, but then you've got the other side of the coin of maybe players could prioritise that Red Bull stuff and see some benefits at the top level and actually make this World Test Match Championship cycle actually quite competitive, home and away. Now, with that said, New Zealand's 11, unchanged, you would have thought, unless one of the quicks goes down. And I think that'll likely be Jamison. Obviously, Henry's got the back and maybe a string, but he looked okay. Obviously, taking 11, and they've had a couple of days in between now. They're able to wrap up the game pretty quick on the Sunday, get up to the Midlands that afternoon, and have a couple of days to just get into it. But if everyone's fit, that's an unchanged 11 for me.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there. I might, yeah. If it's an absolute dust bowl, they might play a spinner, but I think it'd be hard to change
Trent
it.
Bridge, is it traditionally spin?
I don't think it's going to be a dust bowl, but
no.
Yeah, who knows? The heat wave might strike.
Yeah, I did hear Brody talking about the fact that Bashir's taken 2 fifers, I think, there. One was against Zimbabwe, one was against the West Indies. But again, no disrespect, obviously much better cricketers than you and I. At least they're better cricketer than me. But it is Zimbabwe and the West Indies. So you need to look at the context as well. But yeah, I'd say spin probably has another backseat role here.
Yeah. Interesting on that note as well, in terms of Stokes and Atkinson play. Bashir didn't get picked for Derbyshire. I'm assuming it's conditions based. I think they've gone in with 5 seamers. Look at me, sort of tracking all the county cricket stuff. But that was interesting because they've kind of backed him in, so it must have been pretty juicy conditions to. But your boy Ray and Ahmed did get 100 in a few polls.
Yep, I heard for Leicestershire.
Yeah,
he's got to play at some point. I'm going to keep backing him. I don't know why they don't pick him. I know that leg spin in a Test match setting in England. I mean, It's not as if there's a history of leg spin working in England and English conditions. I'm not sure if there's any Australian bowlers that used to do that for years. But the fact that he can also hold a stick and is batting, I think, 3 for his county side. So get him in there. I don't know what the hold-up is.
Just a side note with those guys as well. So there's a real Kiwi flavour at Leicestershire with Ajaz Patel and Nick Kelly.
How good.
Nick Kelly, to back up his 80-odd, last week got 100 and something, 121. Ajaz took a few wickets as well. I think one in the first 3 in the second. And Leicestershire won their first game in Div 1 in something like 8,250 days. So the last time they won a game in Div 1 was 2004. Sorry, 2004 was the last time they won a game.
Goodness gracious. We're talking pre-05 Ashes.
That is a long time.
That is donkey's years, man.
Yeah. So Rayan, Ahmed, and then the couple of Kiwi lads had a fairly reasonable hand to play in that.
Yeah, so that's good. It's good to hear. So I suppose on the third test, I mean, if it is unchanged, these are gettable now. I feel as if we've got a good opportunity to actually turn the Poms over and actually achieve the first target of Revenge Tour, which is to turn Bazball on its head and actually get the job done. Surely the guys will be feeling some confidence, and I know that England will be back to what you call full strength. But we're in as good as position we can be, which is really exciting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they go. And I don't think they'll rip into Ben Stokes and Gus Atkinson. I don't think it's like in their nature to do that. But some part of you hopes Will O'Rourke sends one down and just has a word. He's been in the face of the players, and I do love it. So yeah, Will, if you're listening, get stuck in, mate. Don't hold back.
He strikes me as a man of few words, as well as being a batter of few shots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his batting's actually okay. He hangs in there.
He does.
Runs.
I saw an article that he's supposedly the best blocker in this generation. Like he digs in and hangs around for forever, but doesn't play many scoring shots.
That's fine. He doesn't need to. You got GP and batting in Sunnies at 7.
Well, perfect.
That was best for him.
That was one of the points I was actually going to make. Is I think good sides, one of the attributes is the tail wags. And I know it doesn't seem like much, But like you think about the Australian teams that you got through the top order, like on the off chance that then Brett Lee and Mitch Johnson and all the Jason Gillespie's scoring double hundreds as night watchman, that these guys can contribute. The great South African teams, the England team when they had their run, you had Graham Swan and Brody was contributing a bit before he took a couple of blows, nasty blows.
Yep.
But we added 130 runs for the last 4 wickets. And I know the temptation is possibly to move Phillips up, but when you've got Jameson, Smith, like even O'Rourke, the fact he can, like he's had a couple of innings where he's about 70, 80 balls. If you've got someone who's solid at the other end with some of these dynamic players, they scored the 130 off like 27 overs.
Exactly.
It just
and
accelerates the game.
Jameson's a better bat than what he's shown. Obviously, he's getting runs, but he has thrown his wicket away a few times. So I think Bethel might have got him in the first innings, and he just kind of had a hoik. And I know he was trying to get the scoring up and whatnot, but it's a better bat than that. When he first came in 2020 against India, I think like 44 on debut. Like the bloke can play, and I agree. You think about Southey and Bolt, how entertaining it was, and Bolt used to send him into the stands. It was great. And Southey probably should have got a Test match 100. He got a couple of first class 100s, so he probably should have got one. But I think it was a third or fourth on the 6 hitting list as well. So yeah, and with the tail wags, it does mean the bowlers get that extra bit frustrated, and the opening batsmen spend a bit more time being a bit jittery, and yeah, it all has a knock-on effect. So I agree. If everyone's contributing all the way down, even if it is just hanging in there, then happy days.
Yeah, and you saw as well when that was happening, like England's fielding got pretty sloppy there towards the end. Everyone's been there, right? Where there's a partnership that forms. Everyone who's played the silly sport has at least. The partnership's formed. You think you're almost home and hosed and can put your feet up and have a nice lunch. And then they just hang on and hang on and hang on and hang on. And then all of a sudden they start scoring, and then they're scoring quickly. And then the misfields start happening, and it's just another vicious cycle.
Yep, exactly right. Another good example of how the sport we can't stop watching really just digs at the soul and starts to hurt you emotionally and at times physically as well.
Yeah,
right.
We've got to motor through our last few points of order, don't we?
We do. I was going to say you might have a roundup for the on the English scene that I think our listeners want to hear.
So I've covered most of those ones in terms of Stokes, runs, Atkinson, Forfa, Ahmed, Bashir not playing, Nick Kelly, the only other Kiwi, Christian Clark. I think he took a wicket, no runs, but all part of the pro. MLC has started. Tim Seifert got 100 in the first game, but they went down to Faf du Plessis Super Kings. Faf also got 100. There's been some pretty big scores. I think like some 260, or not 260, but like 200's been 220's been chased with like 3 overs to spare a couple of times, kind of stuff.
Just on that, Faf, the oldest T20 centurion. I think he's like out of the top 5. I think he's like 4 of them are him. So he's loving it. Silver Fox.
Love the man.
Yep.
Finn Allen, a quick 20. Colin Munro still going, 60 odd red at a good rate. Chapman, he got a 57 off 24.
Yep, Chappy.
Milne's been playing. Ferguson's been playing. Unfortunately, Ferguson took a fair bit of tap. He went for 57 off 4 in one game. Seifert, more runs, 78. Tim Robinson got a start, 10. Ravi Ashwin actually played his first game outside of an Indian T20 setup. 2 overs for 24, so...
good start.
Yeah. Bolt and Corey Anderson have been in and amongst it for MI New York.
Corey Anderson still knocking it back.
Well, he's playing as an American. He's played for US of A and
Trump's America. How good?
Yeah. So going all right. I think probably touching on the Women's World Cup before we finish, but just a note on we'll call it conspiracy theory from last week. I've heard rumblings that the deadline for that will fall sometime between now, with the Australians being ahead of us, having beaten Bangladesh 3-0 quite convincingly as well, and before our next T20 game. I think there might be some tactical timing in terms of not making it look too bad, but I think everyone knows what's gone on here, and I'm not a fan. I would like people to be of high character and stick to their word, and when they say that a decision's going to be made at a certain point of time, make it and let the right team play. It is only the Olympics. It's not real cricket. It doesn't actually count. So, yeah, I don't even think the medals are fully gold anymore. I think they're just gold coated.
Yep.
So
Cost
that's
of
the
living
thing.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Just the last thing on the test series, like if England do go down, I think they can be, like, there's positive signs. Two wins out of 9 against two powerhouses. Yeah. I think that's all right for England. I
Now,
think.
this is what I want to start hearing, some passive
Yeah.
aggressive chat. This is
Yeah.
now we're talking, mate.
I think,
This is
yeah.
much better. Forget this level-headed politeness. I want to start hearing some daggers against
Yeah.
the
Well,
Poms.
we've
So
got an
yeah,
aging team, and we've got some good crops coming through, but we need to enjoy it while we've got this.
100%. This is it for this lot. I think. I'm not sure when we need to go to England. We normally go like every 2 or 3 years these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 or 3 years time, a lot of these blokes might be done. And
Yeah,
if
I
not
think
done, the eyes will be
there's
going.
6 blokes that. So you've got. I had looked at it the other day. You've got Latham, Conway, Nichols, Henry, who are all 34, and then you've got Mitchell and Blundell, who are 35. And so I think at the end of this block of Test cricket, hopefully none of the careers are ended by injury, touch wood, that, yeah, you'd see a number of those guys go. I did throw it out in our chat that potentially a Langer, Warne, McGrath style last test of the series.
Right off into the
Yes.
sunset stuff.
Yeah. Arm
Yep.
in arm, kind of hoisted up on Will O'Rourke's shoulders.
And what shoulders they are as well.
Yeah.
My kingdom to be hoisted up on Will O'Rourke's shoulders.
Modern day Atlas.
Oh.
Yeah.
My wife said he looks like a Timu Pat Cummins, to be fair.
I'm
which
sure.
I thought was very harsh because
Yeah.
O'Rourke, he goes, the eyes are, it's trappings along the way. To be fair, Pat Cummins is a pretty high standard, pretty thoroughbred pedigree. But
I think O'Rourke would dwarf Cummins, wouldn't he? Well, are they similar altitude?
Well, depends on what we're talking here, and we could be getting down some dark rabbit holes,
No.
which we're going to stop right now.
I'm not. I'm talking strictly if they go back to back. Whose head is being hit by the hand?
Well, yeah. O'Rourke, Jamieson. I mean, these blokes they're big people. Like forget Haaland at the World Cup. We've got some big blokes knocking about New Zealand. Speaking of big blokes and knocking about, I'm going to rattle off some Kieran Pollard stats. I'm going to steal a note that you were going to say anyway.
That's all right.
So you're welcome. Kieran Pollard. So T20s, 737 games, 654 innings, 196 not outs, 14,589 runs, and an average of 31, striking at 150. 2 tons, apologies, came on to me, 67 50s, almost 1,000 fours, almost 1,000 sixes, and 406 catches. So not the only person to go past 14,000 this week, but that is just some bizarre stuff. I mean, what?
And on Chris Gale's records disappearing, he still holds on to the highest score, but Mitch Owen almost took it off him.
Yeah.
He was 155 with 3 overs to go.
Yeah.
Brought us 100 up inside the 10th or something. But the Pollard thing is ridiculous. I remember when he first came on the scene, playing a lot for Trinidad and Tobago in the Champions League.
Champions League stuff. Yeah.
And the guy was just an absolute, just demolished attacks. That just, you felt like whatever the situation of the game, that he could get you across the line in a chase.
Yeah,
and he used to bowl the funky medium pace change ups with the jump wide of the crease, the big cutters. Yeah, no, he was one of the first cool T20 cricketers, I reckon.
Yeah, I think him and Dre Russ, Gale and Bravo.
Yeah,
just
massive mitts, just devouring the ball on the boundary. Yeah.
Yeah, he started. He played a couple of tests, didn't he?
He didn't play tests. He actually had a fairly reasonable first class record.
He didn't play any tests, but 123 one days and
when he stopped playing first class cricket, he started to have a few issues against the short ball. But
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, Women's World Cup hasn't been great. I think fielding generally has been pretty poor. That game after we recorded the last one went down to Sri Lanka, not great at all. Only just snuck across the line against Ireland, who, by all accounts, are the second weakest team in our pool. No, sorry, the weakest team. No, sorry, weakest team. Scotland are actually a slightly further ahead of Ireland in the women's cricket.
Well, as we go to where, on that note, New Zealand playing Scotland. So Scotland, did they win the toss? No, we did. We chose to field. Scotland 56 for 1. Leah Tahu, who just took her 100th T20I wicket.
Cool.
So great. Awesome. But yeah, Scotland, 56 for 1 after 8. So going at a fair clip. And yeah, so work to be done. Not impossible, but we're starting getting into making like concessions with the points table, trying to, could we do this? Could we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we need to win both. So we've got Scotland and England to even have a chance. I think we're on 2 points. That would put us on 6. West Indies and England are already on 6. They play each other, and then England play us, and West Indies might play Ireland, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
So almost the best result for us would be if the Windies beat England, and then it's in our fate that if we beat England, we're a chance, depending on net run rates.
Yeah, and I think the situation's not great, but it is tournament cricket. Like, as long as you get an opportunity and you're still there, then you are a chance to win it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, so if they're participating, they can turn around. And I think the fielding, you're right, hasn't been great, but you'd almost prefer that over your top order or your bowlers not really doing the job. So if the fielding can improve, the morale of the team can improve, they can get an opportunity to give it a shot. And if you make it to the next round, then it's just shootout cricket. And if you can turn over a side on your day, then you're in there. So yeah, not all is lost.
Fingers crossed. I look at it, and admittedly, we sort of decided probably 2 weeks before we started this podcast that we're going to start a podcast. So I'd been watching the women's stuff during the summer, but probably hadn't been paying as close attention to the lead up as I will do in future. It doesn't seem like it seems like they've selected the right players. I'm not entirely across it, but it doesn't seem like there's any players left at home where you're like, oh, they should have really picked them and that would have made a difference. Like when England went to the 2015 Cup and Ben Stokes was smashing them in the BBL and Gary Balance was getting worked over by Trent Boult.
James Taylor.
Well, he's a good player, man. He was.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah. And then all that issues with his heart. That was unfortunate.
Yep.
Gary Balance actually had a very good one-day record, but he justified, but it just Trent Boult made him look silly. He was on one that day. But it doesn't seem like there's players that have been left out. Susie Bates came in and made an impact in her game. She only played because Sophie Devine was vomiting.
It's a good reason.
Her form in the lead up hadn't been great. Yeah, it's a tricky one, right? So it kind of suggests that maybe if they're losing these games that are winnable, that some of the structures within the team, coaching setup might need to be reviewed, and there might need to be some adjustments. But yeah, he's hoping 2 more games, 2 wins, put us in an interesting spot, give us a chance.
Exactly right. And I think at that point, like, you're going to lose. I know we're the defending champions, but go into it with a good attitude. You can turn over anyone on your day. And I mean, Aussie, England, India will be hard to beat, but
South Africa are good. They knocked over India.
Exactly. So yeah, not all is lost, but let's put ourselves in a position to actually be there. That's the first objective.
Yeah. Anything else from you, mate?
On cricket, I mean, always, but I think we might have to call it there. Looking forward to this 3rd Test match. Looking forward to hopefully winning the Crowthorpe Trophy, which it's so lovingly called. And I do like hearing Stuart Broad having to provide excuses on his own podcast about why they were so rubbish. So I'm looking forward.
I just want to see this one come back.
Yeah, exactly right. Those listening might not appreciate that, but basically want to see Stuart Broad become a meme again. He knows what he's doing, but I would love to see him in his own home ground, see England get knocked around and get the win. So yeah, looking forward to that. But nothing else from me, mate. How about you? 2
little bits of housekeeping with our attempt to become real big boy podcasters. First bit is just a shout out for this week in terms of the people that have reached out, or the person that's reached out. Steve Hobson, Hobbo, with a nice little message during the week, just enjoying the noises going into his ears. Yeah, been a good supporter. So another one that we both fortunate enough to take the field with, and
100%.
Yeah,
good times.
So Nah, it is quite nice, sort of different people coming out of the woodwork and reaching out. If you have enjoyed it, please don't feel obligated, but liking, sharing, subscribing to whatever you're listening, seeing it on does help us out in terms of getting this in front of more people. Like I said, if you didn't enjoy it, don't feel like you have to, but if you want to support you guys, the Nick and Nurdle gang, we would greatly
Nick and Nurdle
appreciate it.
community. And you know what? I welcome those who don't like it either. I reckon keep listening. That's my advice.
Yeah. Keep listening until you love it. Eat your veggies until you love them.
Exactly. We'll grow on you.
This is good for you. This is good
exactly.
for you.
This is good. This is, forget everything else you've ever learned. This is the real stuff. This is the real chat. This is what you need to hear.
Not agree more.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from that, mate, I'm all good.
Sweet. Have a good one.
You too. Go Black Caps.